So, yes, it's called compound sentence is what you're doing here. In English, what's a compound sentence?
Inequalities. Two sentences combined by either a semicolon and or a comma.
Yeah. So two sentences joined by a conjunction, usually in English, and or but. In math, it's and or. But when we combine two things, it's going to be we're combining two inequalities with ands or ors. So you have seen this before. Hopefully this will ring a bell in a minute. I might give you a statement like x is greater than 3 and x is less than 5. Okay, we're going to graph this out so you see what's happening. So I'm putting 3 and 5 on the number line. If I'm doing x is greater than 3, which way am I shading? I am going to be shading, I don't know if this is going to work. No, you can't see that. Okay, back to the pencil then. So I'm going to be 3 and to the right. And if I am doing, oh, but what did I do wrong there? Bad. Thank you, that should be open. And then the other part, x is greater than 5, or excuse me, x is less than 5. It is going from 5, it's going left. Now the question is, what does the and mean in the problem?
Where they're shared.
Okay. Maddie says it's where they're shared. Do you buy that? It's because I'm saying it's got to be the numbers where x is greater than 3 and they're also less than 5. So it's got to be numbers that are in both. If it's got to be it says and, it's got to be greater than 3 and it's got to be a number that's less than 5. Where are the numbers that are both of those?
4.
Look for where they're overlapping. They overlap between 3 and 5, so in this instance, your answer would be all the numbers between 3 and 5. And has to be where they cross or intersect. The actual mathematical definition of and is it's an intersection. So if you have a problem that has an and in it, you have to find where the two different inequalities are crossing or overlapping. Yeah. Or is technically what we call a union. Okay, what's it mean? When you go to a marriage, they'll say it's the union of the two people. Why do they call it a union? Yeah, you're combining, you're joining it together. So when you do a union, you're taking two separate things, putting it together. In our case, to kind of make this shortcut, a union is anything you shade. When you get anything shaded is an answer when you're doing an or problem. Whereas when you're doing an and problem, it has to be where they overlap each other. You can keep that straight. Makes and ors pretty simple.
So with answer, do we know where these and or are the same?
Not yet. I haven't got to that yet. Hang on to that one. So now, let me ask you, if I had done this exact same problem we just did right here, if I did x is greater than 3 or x is less than 5, if I had that situation, it's the exact same picture, isn't it?
Yeah.
So 3 going up, 5 going down.
Anything shaded?
Anything shaded. It's because it's got to be any number that's greater than 3, or it can be any number less than 5. So it can be anything in either group. What do I have shaded?
The outside.
I'm looking for anything shaded anywhere. Everything's shaded, isn't it?
Yeah.
So in this case, your answer is all reals, because you have everything shaded. Now, we're going to learn to write all reals the short way.
R.
In mathematical symbols, it's a two-lined R.
That's pretty sweet.
Means all reals. A lot faster than writing out all real numbers.
That's how it's in the answer sheet. Yeah, it just says R.
It's the cursive version in print, that's the R version. This is the handwritten version.
Wait, what does that R mean again?
All real numbers. Okay, so let me try a couple more on you here, see if you can figure out where your solutions will be. What if I gave you x is, I'm trying to color code my notes here, x is less than or equal to -5, or x is greater than or equal to negative 1. I would have negative 5 and negative 1. Which way would I be shading from negative 5?
To the left.
Right.
This,
Right.
that's saying, is that, it's point,
Close circle.
so it's going close circle left, and greater than or equal to negative 1 is
To the right.
to the right, okay? This is an OR situation. If it's, so on an OR, anything you shade is your solution.
Yeah.
Okay, in this case, how do I write that out as to write out what my solution is?
So,
Since it's two separate pieces, I can't write it just in one inequality. If you've got two totally separate pieces shaded, you have to write your answer, yeah, and you have to do OR, just like you did yesterday's answers, when we had more than one piece. So you would still go, oh, this is x is less than negative 5, or equal to, sorry, or x is greater than or equal to negative 1. In this instance, the way the problem started out was the only way, that's the best way you can write the answer. You can't get it any smaller. So, if you got two separate pieces, your answer is written in two separate pieces. Now, take that same exact problem, though, and put an and in it. So if I put and in it, okay, so I had negative 5 going left, I had negative 1 going right, same problem, but it's an and. What do and problems have to do? And problems have to overlap. Does that overlap? That is not overlapping. Bingo, it is no solution. So you may write it as, you may write out the words no solution, or I'm fine if you use the empty set symbol. That also means no solution. So, whichever you prefer on that situation. That is bad. A little, but not terribly. Not nearly as hard as yesterday's was, if that makes you feel any better. Orange. Okay. Okay. Trying to section it off here so it's readable. All right, one more situation we can do with this. What if I give you one, we'll do an and this time, and which way will these two get shaded?
obviously, negative 4 is still left.
Negative 4 is going left.
Okay. 8 is a close circle going to the left.
So they're both going left.
Easy,
Okay, so if it's an and, your and answers are where they intersect or overlap.
Yeah.
So where do they start to overlap?
The negative 4.
So in this case then, your final answer is only where they overlap, so how would you write it?
X is less than negative 4.
Yes, so it would just be where they overlap.
Wait, what do you mean less than or equal to negative 4?
That negative, no, because this one was open. They would both have to be closed or solid for it to have an equal sign on it. Now, okay, same old thing though. What if I take that exact same problem, but I put an or in it? Same exact picture. Does it change how you write the answer if it's got an or in it?
No, because anything shaded is from the or.
Okay, anything shaded though, here we wrote less than negative 4
Yeah.
when it was an and. Here, anything shaded would be from where? Yeah, everything from 8 on down is now shaded.
So the X is less than or equal to 8.
Yes. So the x is less than or equal to 8. So, but this line includes the 4. So since that's solid, the negative 4 is in the answer as well.
This is easy.
Excellent. This is easy. We love
You
it.
guys study guys questions yet? I'm lost on those. What?
We did 2 of them.
Which one?
7, A and B.
7 what?
7, A and B.
Okay. So, however, what I'm going to give you as problems with the ands and ors is going to not be quite that simple, but pretty simple. What you're going to see is something funky looking like this. Anybody notice anything strange about that problem?
Oh, I didn't even.
There's two inequalities in there. I got two less than's in there. How could you do that?
Yeah, just separate.
Okay. Well, it's actually a compound sentence. It's actually two problems. And mathematicians don't like to write anything extra if they don't have to. So they'll squeeze this together. But what it's actually saying is, it's actually two problems. It's actually saying you have 2m plus 7 is less than 5n minus 9. But then it's also 5m minus 9, that middle piece goes in both equations. So now you have two separate pieces, but the 5m minus 9 gets in both. Now what you all have to learn is, would it be and or in the middle of this? Well,
I'm thinking or.
is it saying 2m plus 7 is less than 5m minus 9, or it's less than 3m plus 2?
No.
Or and it's less than...
Yeah, it's and.
Yeah, it's and. So, this is an and. When they're squished together like that, it's always an and.
Oh, gee, now, thanks for telling me that. Fucking all my notes.
If you see it written with two inequalities, it's an and problem, guaranteed. Okay. Now, all you have to do is you're going to solve each inequality. This is just normal solve for the variable, nothing fancy. You will not be testing points. This is just plain old ordinary solve for m. So on this left-hand equation, how would I get the m's by... All right, subtract the 2m, add the 9 then?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. 16 is less than 3m, divide by 3, and we're stuck with 16 thirds because that's not going to reduce. So, nice normal solve for the variable. On the right-hand equation, which way do you want to move your m's?
To the right, to the left,
Yeah.
to the left.
So we would subtract 3m, which would give us 2m, and we would add the 9, which would give us 11,
11 over 2.
divide by 2, and m would be
11 over
less than or equal to 11 over 2. Now, here's where you are not done.
You want to tell us what's that right and or?
Because if it's an and or an or, if it's compound, you then have to graph it. Since it's an and, what should the two pieces of graph have to do? They have to overlap. So you don't have a final answer until you figure out where this one overlaps.
Is that when the calculator comes in?
There's no calculator coming in other than a basic number crunching. You won't see any calculator, advanced calculator stuff on this one. Okay, now the other question is, which number is to the right or left of the other number? 'Cause
Make the common denominator.
that's 5 1/3. That's 5 1/2.
So 5 1/2 is bigger.
5 1/2 is bigger. Okay, so 5 1/3 or 16. Actually, I'd rather have it 16 thirds. So 16 thirds and then 11 halves. Which way? And be careful here because the variable's on the right. Which way do I shade from the 16 thirds?
Right.
Yes, it would be open to the right, and the 11 halves.
And the closed circle goes to the left. To the left. To the left.
And since it's an and, where are our answers?
Overlap there, Missy.
Where they overlap, and they are overlapping between 16 thirds and 11 halves.
That's what I'm talking about.
So, now, how do you write an answer when it's trapped between two numbers? Same thing you did with the testing point.
Copy that top part.
Nope. How did we just do it on the
16 thirds.
16 thirds? In this case, put your m in the middle,
Oh,
And
just
11 halves.
and your 11 halves,
and left hand side.
and less than sign. One of them needs an equal. 11 halves is colored in, so it needs an equal. But that notation sticks for all inequalities, everywhere you do them. That's really not hard? Good. That's not supposed to be hard. If it's an and, the key that what most people make a mistake on these is they work it, and then they don't go to the trouble to graph it and find out where it overlaps or not. And I'll tell you, if you do that, I give you a point for graphing the first side, a point for graphing the second side, a point for figuring out if it overlaps, and a point for the answer. So you would miss 4 points on a test if you didn't do that step. So it is important to do that step.
Bar,
Yes.
stop the clock.
Thank you. I wanted to do one more problem, but I suppose I could. I want to do one more problem, get the inequalities, and then we'll switch to the other thing we're doing. Thank you, but I'm going to let it run here. We need to do an OR problem. Okay, how do you think you can tell an OR problem when they give you an OR problem? It says OR. If it's an OR problem, it will say OR. You don't have to doubt it. It's there. So, yeah, nothing surprising on that one. You just need to solve for your variable. So how do I solve for y?
Okay. You add, which one?
That is a 10, a negative 10. Can I go over
Okay.
there?
Just subtract 9, so you don't have to put your sign.
Okay, oh, she wants to subtract 9 so that we keep our y positive. What do y'all think? Yeah, because I don't want to have to worry about dividing by a negative. So yeah, I'm all for that. Let's subtract 9.
So, negative 6
Divide by 2.
equals to y.
And so that we S and D, we would get negative 6 is less than or equal to y. Okay, now here are we moving the 18 or are we moving before y?
Can't you do
You're moving
just
before
make the
y.
y over first, so then you turn positive and just add
You can move the y over and make it positive. Or you can leave it here, but you'll have to divide by negative 4 and switch the direction.
No,
do it the
let's
way
not
I
do that.
did, please. Put the y over first.
How many want to move the y, 4y over? How many want to move the 18? More people.
Not speak up.
We'll do it. I'll agree with you. I would have moved the 4y, but that's okay. We have to. So when I subtract it, I don't change the sign. I'm subtracting. But now I'm going to divide by. And so then I'm going to have to remember to switch the sign. So it's just giving yourself more opportunity to make a minor error. Okay. Then we're going to do negative 6 and positive 7 on our number line, because we know that if it's an and or an or, we have to graph our answer to get the final answer. We don't want to blow 4 points. Okay, so from negative 6, it's equal to, so I'm shading it in and going which way?
Oh yeah, right.
Yes, realize if you switched it around, you put the y over on the other side, then it's pointing you in the direction to shade.
Okay,
So we're going that way. We go right.
So y goes to the left.
And then on 7, it's open to the right. Now, what, am I looking for where it intersects or not?
No.
This is an OR problem. So
they're
my answer is anything I shaded.
Yes.
What's shaded?
Everything.
Everything. So what's my answer?
All real
All real numbers.
The double R.
There you go. So that's your final answer.
That is a fun one.
So that's not too major for you?
No, that was actually.
You better stop your timer though.
Thank you. Yes, stop. Thank you.